Hi and welcome back to Property Insight. My name is Mark Ashworth.
I'm Neil Harding.
And on today's video we're going to be talking all about tenants in situ. So buying a investment property, whether it's a flat or a house, and there's already a tenant there and they're basically going to continue on. You change the landlord and everything supposedly is normal. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So you've made a few notes on this one, Niels, and I think you've probably bought a few where they've tenants in situ. I've very much done the same as well. Pros and cons?
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit of a horses for courses thing. It divides opinion. Some investors will never do it because they don't want to run the risk that the tenant might be a problem tenant, or they just want a clean slate. Also, of course, if you're buying with a property with a tenant in situ, it does rather restrict the opportunity to do a refurbishment. You could do a refurb with a tenant there, but a lot of people with a BRR strategy aren't interested. So it is a horses for courses thing. I've bought a number of properties with tenant in situ and had good experiences. So I think one thing to do, like one top tip, is when you view the property, if it is a tenant in situ situation, try and view the property with the tenant there. Yeah. Because you get to meet them and you can actually use it to your advantage, because you can ask them questions like, are there any problems with the property? How much rent are you paying at the moment? How long have you lived here? What are your plans? Do you want to live here a long time? You know, and people are very, very forthcoming with their situation. So those questions can give you all sorts of information. And if you're looking for someone with a property with a tenant that's going to stay a long, long time, and they say, I've lived here for 8 years and I want to stay here for the rest of my life, it's brilliant, kids are at school, they're going to be there another 10 years, whatever it is, then straight away, if your strategy is, I just want something actually with set and forget, you know, buy it, it'll pay me rent from day one, which is a great thing about a tenant in situ, you're getting rent in from day one, then brilliant. Yeah. You know, it can really work to your advantage.
Yeah, I think the idea that you go along to the property with the tenant there is key. Even if you can't do that on the first viewing, then I would encourage you to arrange a second viewing. Try and do it maybe in the evening when they're back from work, if they are out working, that sort of thing. You definitely want to get some feedback from the tenant. Chances are, you know, if it's negative then and they want to move out, then they're probably going to tell you that, I think.
Another great thing about buying a property with a tenant in situ is that it is absolutely reasonable for you as a property investor to expect that the property is being sold in a compliant way from the landlord's perspective. So what that means is, you know, I always ask for a copy of the gas safety certificate, a copy of the electrical safety certificate, the EICR. They should be in place. And if they're not, then ask for them. That's a reasonable request, because I say to the estate agent, look, I'm buying this property with a tenant in situ. It's reasonable for me to expect that the property is safe for the tenant, because I'll be responsible for that tenant from the minute I own the property. If there are any works then required on the property to get it to a standard where it is safe for gas and safe for electrics, then that's the existing seller's responsibility to foot the bill for that. So you actually know that you're not going to have a nasty bill and a nasty surprise as soon as you buy it for those sorts of works. And if you've got a good solicitor, explain to them that you're buying with a tenant in situ and you want copies of those. They'll take care of that as part of the conveyancing for you. Yeah. They'll ask the vendor solicitor for a copy of those documents that they know should be there, and ideally get a copy of the tenancy agreement, get a copy of all of the things that we've done a separate video on landlord compliance. So all those things that need to be there. So the copy of the inventory, the copy of the confirmation that the right to rent has been done, the smoke alarms were tested when they moved in, all those things, they can be provided.
I suppose the downsides of perhaps buying a property with a tenant in situ are that the tenant isn't particularly happy where they are, or they're in a situation where they're paying well under market rent, for example, and they don't really want to be pushed out or asked to leave, or they're not going to be very receptive to a rent increase. I mean, that is an issue, and I think that's probably something where you'd need to discover that on the viewing and actually have a conversation with them and how they feel about what they're paying at the moment. For example, you know, ask them whether they think that's a fair market rent for the price for the property, or do they think that for the last few months they've had it good, they've had it easy. Because obviously if you're coming in from an investment perspective and the vendors are after a particular purchase price, and from a yield basis, it doesn't quite stack up, or let's say your lender isn't particularly happy about the rent that's being achieved right now, it might be a case that you need to have a conversation with them about that rent increase and potentially even negotiate your way in buying that property by saying to the vendors, look, we're happy to pay the purchase price or agree a price for purchase based on the fact that the rent is going to be increased. There is nothing wrong with doing a rent increase before you actually purchase the property. That is an option. You can just leave it as it is. I suppose it depends how you're buying it, right? Whether you're buying it for cash or whether you're low leverage or whether you're going in at a 75% loan to value product.
Yeah, that's true. I've bought a property before with a tenant in situ where I've known what the tenant is paying in rent, and also I've known, because the estate agent, who is also a letting agent, has said to me, I've had a conversation with the tenant, they'd like to stay, and actually they're more than willing to pay X going forward. So, you know, they've pre-approved effectively a higher level of rent. So if they're paying £750 a month right now, and I've had this situation, they said that they want to stay and they're willing to pay 800. They appreciate they're paying a bit under market value. And if a tenant is paying a bit below the market value rent, then, as you say, that can often be why you see a property marketed at a really keen price already, or an opportunity to negotiate on the price. And let's not forget as well, a great advantage for the world, if you like, and for tenants of selling a property with a tenant in situ is that someone actually manages to stay in their home, don't they? Which is a good thing, right? You know, 'cause there's not enough rental properties around for people to live in, and landlords know, and landlords sometimes get a bad name, let's face it, so landlords know that they will probably get a higher price if they can sell with vacant possession rather than a tenant in situ, because you open it out to the whole market, not just investors. And there are a lot of landlords that don't want to do that because they don't want to kick someone out of their home for no good reason. They have a social conscience like most people do. So, you know, selling with a tenant in situ, it's got a lot of good things going for it, I think, all round.
Definitely. Yeah, just, again, do your due diligence, and it's about having open conversations. Open conversation with the agent, open conversation with the vendor, and open conversation with the person that's renting the tenant. So, yeah, good luck, and thanks very much. We hope that you found this insightful, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one.